From private jets to domestic flights, Anora is a young woman from Brooklyn getting her chance at a Cinderella story when she meets and marries the son of an oligarch. Once news reaches Russia, her fairy tale is threatened as his parents set out for New York to get the marriage annulled. Directed by a man known for his unique visions, Sean Baker is an indie filmmaker among indie filmmakers. A lifer who acknowledges his craft is under constant threat as big name studios are less and less likely to greenlit small or mid budget movies. Anora can be called an allegory for filmmaking, and we will dive into that in a moment. First, this film, at a glance, is deceptively simple as a Cinderella story. A woman who works a certain industry, I can't use certain words, YouTube won't let me. Anora works a certain industry and by chance meets a young, stupid, but rich boy by the name of Ivan or Ivan. He pays for her services, they party together. Eventually, they end up in Vegas and get married in what Annie thinks is a whirlwind romance. The film even makes a point of giving her a moment in the club she now formerly worked at, when everyone says that they're happy for her and they wish her the best of luck. And that's when the other shoe drops. We get two goons and an Igor who are tasked with undoing this marriage by the time Ivan's parents get back. Like a child, he runs off, and that's when the bulk of this movie takes place. Normally, this is the part where we talk about key points, but I feel like the bulk of this movie is mostly in characters and their actions. There's no conspiracy, no murders, no end of the world doomed stay plot. It's simply a story, and we're lucky enough to be along for the ride. Anora starts the film as a worker, and through no fault of her own, is plucked from a place called Headquarters, and is the exclusive girl for a guy named Ivan, a rich kid from a Russian oligarch family. With him, life is simple. Anora, having to work hard and hustle to be able to afford her small lifestyle, enjoys a different side of life. A carefree time with champagne on a private jet, massages in a penthouse suite in Vegas, cleaning people, taking care of all of your messes. It's a life of luxury, and she marries Ivan. She thinks that all her problems are gone. She thinks that her ticket's been punched and it's champagne problems from here on out. And it's so blissfully naive. Annie is only 23, and so I mean it with the most heartfelt sincerity. She's a dumb kid. Don't get me wrong, Ivan is a jackass, but looking at this from the lens of a father in his early 30s, I could have told you this one last. But nonetheless, when confronted by the Goon Squad, Annie hopes that Ivan will stand up for her and their, cough, love, cough.
I'm sorry, I'm allergic to bullshit.
When faced with the consequences of his actions, Ivan runs, leaving Annie to be detained by the goons of Toros, Galnik, and Igor, and we will dive into them momentarily. They then go on a journey to find Ivan so that the marriage can be annulled. The whole time, Annie hopes against hope that when they finally find Ivan, he'll stand up for them. But this jellyfish has no backbone.
It goes to voicemail. It's a fucking great husband you have. First ditches you, now doesn't answer your calls. Real marriage my ass, man.
It's at this moment that Annie sees Ivan the way Igor, Toros, and Galnik see him. A spoiled brat. Toros even says at one point,
It's classic Ivan. I've been dealing with his shit since he was 6 years old.
Ivan has clearly pulled these stunts before. While this is the one that broke the camel's back, this is well in line for his history. When Anora, Ivan, and the goons all fly to Vegas with Ivan's parents, when Ivan hugs his mom like this is when Annie tells him,
Vanya, be a fucking man and talk to me!
That's when it sinks in. And that's when we should start looking at this film with a more mature set of eyes.
Strip club.
I am telling you, you do not know this guy.
Ivan is a spoiled brat, a man-child who's been afforded every advantage in life a person can be offered, and he's squandered it all at the same. He throws lavish parties and buys Annie a diamond ring worth somewhere in the range of $20,000 to $75,000 like it's nothing. It's a game to him. It's an adventure. It's a carefree afternoon. A good time to be had, but that's all. Until the Goon Squad arrives and Ivan runs. He lives under the rule of his family and is beholden to them and their wishes. He will most likely be forced to marry the daughter of another rich family to secure their family's continued growth. When his parents arrive, they bring the hammer down on Ivan, informing him that he's coming home to start working. Now, Chema did try to point something out that maybe Ivan is a victim too, to which I say, no, he's 21. Anya affords him the chance to stand up to his parents, and even at the risk of being cut off and walking away to live with Annie, maybe that's better. Maybe he could still, maybe they could still have each other. And see, in a love story, in a real love story, that would be enough. In a real love story, all we need is each other, and we'll figure the rest out together. Annie already owns a house. They have a $75,000 ring that they could use as seed money for a project. But no, Ivan holds on to his mommy for dear life. And I might add that she's also the worst kind of rich. I'm just pointing that out. It's also at this point the scope of Toros, Galnik, and Igor really come to view. Toros is forced to leave an important family event to go clean up Ivan's mess.
Everybody's so sorry, I have to go. I have emergency. Sorry about that.
And someone get him an edible because constantly this guy looks like he's on the verge of a panic attack. Galnek gets kicked in the face and probably has a concussion and needs medical attention, but instead continues to look for Ivan because that's the job. And then there's Igor. Sweet Igor. A brute maybe, but a gentleman all at the same time. Annie keeps insulting him, and he just keeps smiling and tries to be kind to her. He lives with his grandmother and tries to be helpful in every way he can. He even stands up for Annie and tells Ivan that, well, he owes her an apology.
Я понимаю, что сейчас, наверное, не в тему будет, но мне кажется, было бы правильно, чтобы Иван извинился.
Normally the movie would end right at the point when Annie returns home, but no, we get a glimpse into the aftermath, and it's still heartbreaking all the same. Annie flies back to Brooklyn in a crowded domestic flight, a far cry from the private jets. She was allowed to stay in the house for a single night, but when Igor goes to drop her off at home, reality begins to set in. It's then revealed that Igor saved her ring from Ivan. Annie straddles him, and I think that's when we see two heartbreaking dualities. Igor thinks that he has broken through and that she likes him for his kindness and through his deeds. Annie thinks that this was a transaction and thus goes into hustler mode. These two collide when he tries to kiss her with a romantic passion, and it's at this point that everything breaks down. She slaps him and then breaks down crying for the first time this whole movie. The question is why? Is it because the reality that she is no longer rich hits her? Or, and this is my thing, because she is so used to selling and hustling that when a genuine moment of sweetness comes along, she can't turn off the hustle, and in there lies the tragedy. This movie is outstanding, and the more I write about it, the better I feel about it. It's clear that Mickey Madsen has earned her Oscar, but it's also clear that the director Sean Baker earned his. This film has been lauded as an allegory for indie filmmaking versus big budget studios. Let me explain. Annie works for herself. She's able to do whatever she wants on her terms, but she doesn't make a whole lot of money. She's an indie filmmaker who's able to tell a story that wouldn't necessarily make $300 million at the global box office. And it covers subject matters that may not necessarily be family friendly, but the trade-off is it's her story, it's her money, and it's her indie film. But on the other side, Ivan is the filmmaker beholden to the big studio. The guy who doesn't have to worry about money, but the movie is constantly compromised. His life is constantly compromised, and his vision owing to the input of others. I respect that. And his mother, in one last appeal, one last hustle. What if Annie had told Mama Ivan, you and I both know Ivan isn't strong. He's a good man, and he's fun, but in your world, you need strength. If you allow Ivan to run your family, your great-grandkids won't see a dime. I can see your husband doesn't run the family, you do. Ivan needs a strong woman. He needs me. Teach me how to be the head of the family like you. And what if the mom was similar to Annie in that way, a hustler in her youth who wanted it, who got lucky? What if she considers it and what hook her and married her for a week? Her life will amount to a funny story in his. A flash in the pan, while she may be ruined by the idea that she was so close to the rich life, but it was snatched away from her. This film is absolutely an 8 out of 10 for me. I'm not sure if I'll ever watch it again, but I do know from this side of things, I'll always have high praise for it. That said, what did you think of Anora? Let us know down below, we'd greatly appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. And yeah, we'll catch y'all next time. See you, everybody.